This video is brought to you by Rockler. Create with confidence. Hi, my name is Ben from Woby Design, and today I'm going to show you how I make this workbench / outfeed table and how I managed to clean up this mess. Over the years, I have acquired many different tools.
Skills I have acquired over a very long career.
Some I use often, some I don't use that often, and some that I didn't even know that I had. But I needed a more efficient way to store these tools so that it would be easily accessible. I also want a big workbench. Now that I have a bigger shop, I have enough room to have a big workbench that will work as an assembly table as well as an outfeed table. And since I'm making it as a cabinet style workbench, I'll have plenty of drawer space where I can store majority of my tools. And speaking of which, shout out to 4 Eyes Furniture for making this detailed tutorial on how to make this cabinet style workbench. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave it right up here. And if you didn't know, my table saw right now is Chris's old table saw from his old shop. Thanks, Chris. Now, let me show you how I made it. I cut 3/4 inch plywood roughly with the circular saw and then used the table saw to get the exact measurements. Here's a good example of why I need an outfeed table. Once I have the panels cut, I can assemble them together to make this frame. I'm using this clamp it corner clamping jig from Rockler, which makes it really handy to hold the panels together while I'm assembling the frame. And no fancy joinery, I'm just driving in these spec screws. Once it was assembled, I used scraps of plywood to make the stretchers. I was able to save a lot of wood by using these stretchers instead of full panels. I used pocket holes and attached the stretchers on both top and bottom. And these stretchers made this frame nice and sturdy. I cleaned up the floor and set the workbench down. I'm spacing out about 12 inches off the wall in order for me to access this little seating area. And I checked to make sure it was going to be comfortable. Next, I added 2 full sheets of 3/4 inch plywood as the workbench top. I attached them with screws from the bottom and there were a few spots that needed some adjustments in order for the tabletop to be level. I can then trim it to its final size with the circular saw. Once I had the workbench, things got a lot easier. I am now able to rip full sheets of plywood on the table saw safely. I started ripping 1/2 inch plywood for the drawers. If you didn't know already, Brad from Fix This Build That probably has the best tutorial on how to make cabinets and drawers, so make sure to check him out. I'll leave a video right up here. Once I have these strips, I can then cross-cut them to length. Since my shop is long and narrow, I have to turn my table saw in order for me to cross-cut these longer strips. I made the workbench top overhang 3 inches all around so that I'm able to clamp like this stop block. I cut the strips in half first, then took my final measurements and wrote them down. I'm using this Rockler table saw CrossCut Sled, which is one of my favorites from Rockler. This flip-up stop comes in really handy for accurate and repeatable cuts on the table saw. To assemble the drawers together, I'm using pocket holes to the fronts and the backs. Once it's covered with drawer fronts, you will not be able to see the pocket holes. I then started ripping 1/2 inch plywood for the drawer bottoms on the table saw. I then cross-cut them to its final size with the circular saw. I then attached the panels to the drawers using glue and 23 gauge pin nails. And then I chamfered the bottom with the router and sanded it down smoothly. Next is installing the drawer slides, and full disclosure, Rockler did send me all these drawer slides and many other different tools in the shop. If it's from Rockler, it was sent to me by them. They have all types of different tools that will make your woodworking more efficient and more enjoyable, so make sure to check out rockler.com for all your woodworking needs. I installed the drawer slides using spacers. Rockler has this universal drawer slide jig, which would have been really handy for accurate and easy installment, but I couldn't find it anywhere, which is another reason why I need a better storage system. I can then bring all my drawers and install them to the drawer slides. Next, I started working on the drawer fronts. I'm using 3/4 inch plywood and I'm trying to go for a continuous grain. I ripped them to width, then cross-cut them to its final size. I tried to attach the drawer fronts using a double-sided tape, but it wasn't working, so I just decided to use the 23 gauge pin nailer and it worked out great. I made sure to give it an 1/8 inch reveal on each sides. These pin nails are so small you can't even see them. I can then secure it with screws from the inside. There's a few drawers that stick out a bit, but it's just workshop drawers, so I think I can live with this. For the drawer pulls, I'm using some scraps of leather that I have. I cut them into 1-inch strips and punched a hole with a leather hole punch. I can then secure them with screws. I used this before in my previous workbench and it held up fine, and it's really nice in your hands and it won't hurt your knee if you bang it against it. And now I have nice workbench with a ton of drawers.
Alright, check this out. Today, I'm actually going to bring all my tools here and put it on top here and create a thumbnail that says pretty much, can all these tools fit into these drawers?
Just to show you how much stuff I have gathered over the years, I brought down majority of the tools that I'll be using from the loft. There's just so much stuff. I have hand power tools, hand tools, finishes and epoxy, accessories, and all kinds of tools that I didn't know I had. And I'm always amazed how I was able to fit all this inside of a 20-foot shipping container and actually work out of it. Oh my God. How did I fit all this in the shipping container? I began putting away all my tools. I made the drawers all different sizes. First one being 3 inches, second one being 6 inches, third one being 9 inches, and the bottom one being about 12 inches. I started organizing all the tools into different categories. Any tool that has to do with measuring and marking in one drawer, any hand tools in one drawer, hand power tools in one drawer, and epoxy and finishes in one drawer. And I took my time and organized the old workbench drawers and managed to clear all the tools off the workbench. Once the majority of the tools were put away, I started installing my most frequently used tools against the wall. Everything you see me installing is from Rockler. The bench cookies and the bench cookie storage center, the shop towel holder, the magnetic tool holder strip, and these lock-align drawer organizer system. And these are my everyday used tools like chisels, scissors, pens and pencils, and more. Next, I installed these upper shelves, and I had these brackets from my previous shop, and these planks are actually the first tabletop I made entirely out of recycled skateboards. It's nice to know that it's still holding up. I'm storing all my bigger tools like my HVLP spray system from Rockler, my skateboard degripper 5000, and more. On the other wall, I'm storing all my clamps. I'm reusing my old clamp rack and made sure I could fit all my clamps against the wall. The most important thing was it's easily accessible and has room for all my clamps. And I also replaced my old drum sander that got damaged during the move. I got really lucky and found this new one off of Craigslist and managed to save a few $100s. In addition, the guy from Craigslist gave me these shelves which work out perfectly in the open end of the loft. I'm planning on using the loft strictly as storage, so it's really nice to not spend any money to have these shelves. I do have this open wall on this side where I can store bigger items, and eventually I'll be adding a rumble rack against the wall. I also decided to move the dust collector higher so that I could have more open space down below. I can always be on the top of the table saw if I have to replace the dust bag. And lastly, I added a full sheet of 3/4 inch plywood as a backboard and added a basketball rim so that I can have some fun inside the shop. So, before I show you how I managed to organize this entire shop, let me show you how it used to look like before. I didn't have a proper storage system, so there are tools all over the place. And here's how it looks now. I have this huge stable workbench which doubles as an outfeed table. It also has 16 drawers in total with room for more. And I could put all the tools away when it's not in use. And shout out to Rockler for sponsoring this video and supplying me with all these tools and accessories. They have been a huge supporter of this channel and I have been really enjoying all the variety of different tools that they make. So make sure to check out rockler.com for all your woodworking needs. Thanks, Rockler. And that's it for this video. The shop itself is looking really great and I would say I'm probably about 95% done. There's a few things that I want to add and finish up and have the nice Woby touch to it before I call it done. So stay tuned, it's almost finished and I should be working with recycled skateboards very, very soon. So, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And if you have any tips and tricks for better shop organization, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks again, and till next time. Woo! Oh, they might complain about that.